Okay.
Okay. So, all right. So this is Ray Reilly. He's how did I meet Ray? Actually, we don't need to get into that right now.
Yep.
So is it okay if I just start asking you questions?
Sure.
So, why did you start playing music?
Why?
Yeah.
I think just because I had to. But when I started, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I got the disease at about 14, and I never.
It was drums.
Yeah. I didn't want another instrument. I think, but I can't remember much of it. But I think my mother paid for one of those deals you get for $2.50. You got 10 piano lessons with a lady down the road. But I can't remember, and I think maybe I don't remember because it was a horrible experience, I think. But who knows?
You don't remember the lessons?
No, I don't. No, I really don't. My mother said I had them, but then my mother told me all kinds of stuff that wasn't true, so there you are. Well, I mean, I don't know what you do about that, but, you know.
So, like, you didn't have a lot of help, like, to get started in music? Or did you?
No. Well, there wasn't any. I mean, it was a... they hadn't even... There was only black and white TV, you know, and that was only one station in the whole universe, and that was over in Buffalo. And I mean, what happened to the world after color TV is like as drastic as what happened to the world after computers had that invertible thing that they can do, where they can computers can turn around and design a die to make absolutely anything you can think of out of any material you can think of, and that's why the world is never going to look back. I mean, we might just technologize ourselves right off the end of existence, but I don't know. I mean, I can't tell the future.
So how did you pay for your first drum kit?
How did I pay for my first drum kit? Oh, yeah. I had a thing. There was because of my age and all that shit. They had a thing during the war. They were called wartime savings bonds, and you could, depending on how much money you put in, you can get them for, I think, 2 bits and half $1. And I don't know anybody that put in $1 a week. I lived in a part of town which is not very upscale yet, and I think everybody threw in 2 bits. Anyway, after the war's over, this cash money sitting there, and it's not at wartime value anymore. It's a bond. So you've got some bread. So
this is after the war. So how old are you then? Like when this?
Oh, when the war bonds were going on? Oh God, let me see. I guess I was like 10 or 11 or something like that. Because I do know that I put that money in the pot, and then I tried to shake my mother down for some, and she wouldn't do it. She just would not do it. She would not. She would not assist me financially in any way. Period. And including, I went to be certified at my. I think it was my first year. My first year at New England Con, and I needed $50 to write this thing, and that would have enabled me to go and teach, like elementary school, I think, anywhere in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and she wouldn't do it. She just wouldn't do it. So I have fond memories of my mother. So there you are. Okay.
So,
So ask me some important questions.
who was your first teacher?
My very first teacher was a guy named Bill Miles, and he had a studio at Church Street and Bloor. And I'm quite sure that lessons were 2 bits. I'm really, really sure. He was an old theater drummer, and he didn't have a pot nor a window to throw it out of, and this is how he was staying alive.
Teaching?
Yeah. He was a good teacher. At least I thought he was a good teacher, but I don't know what I learned from him, because he was, for as far as I was concerned, he was a very old-fashioned kind of guy. You know, he had a snare drum that you would die for now, and I'm sure there's still some of them around. An 8-tension sort of gold pearl thing, maybe 14 inches, maybe 15 inches, and he had it tilted on a stand, like way over at an angle like this, because he could play all that etc. He could play all that shit that you had to fake in a pit band.
Oh, okay.
As well as being able to read. I mean, he could. I thought he was a terrifying reader. I mean, this is a guy could read the fly shit on your wallpaper. I mean, it was amazing skill that he had. But anyway.
So when did you meet? Like, when did you start taking lessons with George Lawrence Stone and Billy Gladstone?
Oh God.
And how did you do you have to like audition for these people or anything, or you just start taking lessons with them?
Oh no, well, with Billy, I met Billy in Ted Reed's studio, and I just said straight up to him, I wanna buy one of your drums, because I want to play it, and if this is the last thing in this world I do, I will find a way to play that instrument. And that was cool with him, and he made me a drum. With Stone, Joe Morello says I was just 17, and I had somehow or other gotten into the Colonial Tavern, and I started talking to him between sets, and then the next thing I would go to his hotel, and he would lay stuff down, and he was the guy that said practice on a pillow was good for your touch, and he used to play terrifying things on a pillow, and at gigs he used to, like, anybody wanted to know something, he'd just fold up a serviette on the table, and it happened, you know, and with that same simplicity as like Billy Gladstone's thing. He said, nothing should feel more complicated than right, left, right, and that would be after he had turned around and done some, and he discovered while he was doing all that, he was actually playing paradiddling. And he could do that, just like, Jesus, I should go practice. Yeah.
Are you taking lessons with both of them at the same time?
No.
So who was first?
Well, Joe was a guy that blew my mind and got me to go and see Stone. And I spent, I think, a lot of time with Stone, because I must have been, I can't remember how old I was when I went in the Army, probably 19, maybe 20, I don't know.
Did he have stick control and stuff like that when you were singing?
Oh yeah.
So did you like learn out of that book?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and the Dodge drum chart, and the book. Joe Morello and I got this together. Stone would take a piece of, you don't remember what carbon paper was, but you used to put it in a typewriter, and you get the original and you get a copy behind. So he used to sit and put 2 pieces of paper down with a carbon paper, and he would write you out an exercise. And Joe and I were both getting this same thing.
These are like exercises he worked on?
Excuse me. What I was getting was actually Accents and Rebounds book.
Oh, okay.
That was we got it in raw sheets, one sheet at a time. It was amazing. It just and you tell people that happened, and they look at you like you're, must have been some funny drugs you kids were on, boy. How could you carbon paper? It was really it was a great revelation.
So how long did you study with him for? You met him when you were 17.
Yeah, I must have been there for 4 years, maybe more. And then I would go and see him after. I would go in and pop in if I was on the road, like with the National Ballet or the whoever, and we're a train ride away from Boston. I would go in and see him and get a lesson, or he used to call them brushing up, and I did. I can remember doing exactly the same thing with Billy, except Billy. Billy was really loose and he encouraged you. He encouraged you to play whatever it is that you wanted to play, as long as you didn't play wrong. As long as you had a this thing that was his and maybe Murray Spivak's. I don't know where any of those guys got that finger bounce thing from, but it was Billy would say, play relaxed, and the handhold was relaxed. I mean this is pretty relaxed handhold, right? And then that thing of crushing, that like he could play a 4-stroke rough. Now make the 4-stroke rough not as wide as you would think a 16th note. Make it as wide as the stem of the note, and go what, right? And it is doable. There's no problem with that. But it was a concept at the time. Who is this guy? Well, I've actually done that with students. I say, play it this wide, and they say, you can't play that. It's impossible. So, I can remember Dan Hinger being at a PAS a concert at the U of T. This is years and years and years and years ago. And Bob Becker got up and just played the hell out of the George Hamilton Green Book. And he'd be standing there, Dan Hinger was singing, this is impossible, right? And you're hearing it right there in your face. It's like watching the Buddy Rich DVD, so you could hear all that stuff on disc, and you say, boy, he can play. But all of a sudden you can see it. And even now the impossible is being executed right in front of your face.
So, Billy Gladstone, when did you meet him? Because he was in New York, right? Did you meet him in New York? Yeah,
I did meet him, and I met him in Teddy Reid's studio. Oh, the first time I ever saw him was in Stone's studio, and he just came in as a little courtesy call. I think he must have been with a show. So Stone's studio was in a really crappy part of Boston, which has been burnt to the ground, and they had a thing in Boston called the Big Dig, and they took all of the railway tracks that ran under like Huntington Avenue and whatever, and they compressed them into like 4 sets of rails, and that was I think the Boston, Ohio who else came down that far? I think maybe New York Central. And so all of a sudden there was thousands of acres of land that was open, and they put buildings in there and hotels, and it became a really upscale part of town. But Hanover Street was a dungeon, and it was just Stone's father owned the building. I know that for a fact, and he probably paid $20 for the building. It was just a frame walk-up fire trap. Had an elevator operator. Had a guy who'd been there forever and ever and ever. Always said good morning to you, and then as soon as you got in, he sat on the chair, and you could stand, and he'd till you got up to the floor. It was educational. Though that was that part of town was my first view of Boston, and I thought, Christ, I've lived in worse places than this, so I wasn't.
Where were you from before Boston?
When I lived in Toronto, sort of Lansdowne and Bloor area, which is now one of the crack capitals of the city.
So did you go to Boston to see Stone, or why'd you go to Boston?
I went to Joe Morellis's.
Okay.
Call him or write him or phone him or whatever and get in touch with him and see what he can do. So I did it. And I had to take the streetcar down to the Sunnyside train station, and then I didn't get off the train. Oh no, I did get off the train. I had to go and change in Buffalo. And then that was it. And the next thing I know, I got off the train, I'm in Back Bay Station.
So you're at Stone's place, and then Billy came in?
He was doing something, and he was teaching him his finger thing, and you know what they were playing?
Teaching Stone?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was teaching him this. Only 3 times softer.
That's weird. That sounds huge.
It sounds like a big sound?
Well, it just drew me in really fast.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that's the nature of the lick. I mean, Ravel wrote that lick for some nutty reason. I don't know. And there's all kinds of stories about Ravel and that piece.
So what was Billy like? Because when you talk about him, he just seems like to me he seems like a legend.
He is a legend, man.
But I mean, like a myth.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you how weird it was for me. Every time I went in there, it was like I sat in a chair. Billy was only about 5'4", but I had so many times of looking up at him that I was convinced he was about 6'19". I was really thought he was like taller than Shelley Mann. And he was like Shelley's uncle or something like that. He was related somehow.
Shelley Mann?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, because Shelley's real name is not Mann. His real name is Manny. So it sounds like a Chinese food order. I'm Shelley Manny. Well, Shelley changed that.
But what was it about Billy that was so special?
That he was dig your own way into it, and don't be sloppy. Be relaxed. Don't be sloppy. I don't know if I actually saw the guy that was doing it, but he had a guy that came in and he had this whatever. He was into Billy's grip, sort of, but then it became this. He's relaxed. It was also wrong. The guy never came back for another lesson. So I think Billy told him to walk. You're missing the thing.
So when you say Billy's grip, like, is it it's his?
No, it's no different from it. Yeah, it is his in that it's the same as anybody else has. You have the rest, you have the grip, and you have the clamp, right? So fingers went over, and a finger went under. So this one pushes it down, this one lifts it up. You know, it's like squeezing a ball, which was evidently Murray Spivak's thing. You squeeze a ball and then put the stick in where the ball used to be, and this is what you get. So now whether that's a myth or not, I don't know. Ed Thinkman had a couple of lessons from him, and he said that's what he was always about, squeeze the ball.
So, okay, so you go to, so you're with, sorry, I'm just trying to recap. You're with George Lawrence Stone for years, 3 or 4 years, you say? And then you go to New York. And how long were you studying with Billy? Or was it more of like come and go?
It was the same kind of thing. I could go. He wasn't on the faculty at Juilliard or anything, so I wasn't doing anything dumb. I wasn't, attending university. I was his private student. I don't know how else to say it. It's
Now his drums. When did he start making those?
Oh God, I have no idea. I mean, there was a line of Gladstone drums, huge bass drums with tone control or mufflers, whatever we want to call them, and he had the bass drum would have been like 24 or 26 inches, maybe 26, maybe more. I'm not really sure. 16-inch floor tom, and then 2 rack toms. So only one of them that I can remember that Billy ever used. But he had all the guys that were in the hotels and all the guys that were on the flashy bands and that played on the radio and everything. They all endorsed his drums. And
they bought them?
Yeah. So I mean, he didn't give them a drums and say, here, I'll give you this drum and make sure that everybody knows that I made it. It wasn't like that at all. It was just like it was like you want my drums? They're going to cost you whatever it's going to cost you, and that was the end of it. Like when he made me the drum, it was $250 for the drum. And everybody else had paid $250 for the drum. He wasn't giving me a discount.
Yeah. And how much do you think they're worth now?
Oh, I'd hate to think. The guy from San Francisco, Chet Falzerano, decided he was going to create a Billy Gladstone drum museum, but he wasn't at least been interested in those sets of drums. He was just in his
snare?
in his snare drum, yeah, which I think was a 15-inch drum, but it might have been a 14-inch drum. And I think the concert drum was really deep, like 6.5 or something like that.
This is Billy's own?
Yeah.
Because he told me one time that you weren't allowed to play it.
Wasn't allowed to play his drum?
Yeah.
Oh, the golden drum. Oh no, nobody was allowed to touch that drum unless I don't know what happened. Because I got to play it. I got to play it in Teddy Reed's studio. He kept that drum in Teddy's studio. But I think that was just so he could have a place to go, and when he was bored or he wanted to talk to Ruth, to Teddy's wife, he would.
What was that drum? What was playing on it like?
It was actually the first time I played on his drum. It scared me witless. I flipped. I couldn't. I had never played an instrument like that, and then to think that I'm playing on his drum, the one like the guys in the orchestra took that drum out and had it gold plated. Now who does that for somebody?
The replicas now, you can get replicas with gold plated ones.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh.
But can you tell the story of Buddy Rich seeing him?
Oh. I would have loved to have been there. And I'm trying to think who told the story, and then the story got to Teddy Reed. Anyway, in Radio City, this great big velour. I mean, it's a huge proscenium arch. It's really like probably 80, 90 feet across. Hello. And there's a curtain that pulls away, and then there's a curtain that comes up, which is the inside, like the fire curtain kind of thing. But it's nice red velour or maroon velour, whatever it was. Anyway, you can hear this. I thought it was a fan, and I don't think there was air conditioning then at that time. But I remember first time I heard him in there in the house. What's this? It went on and went on and went on, and all of a sudden, the curtain starts coming up, and this roll gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's absolutely gigantic. And then there's this cymbal crash, and the pit band is into playing whatever the overture is. And anyway, Buddy ran out of the room, ran straight up to the back of the hall and got out of there. Was gone in a flash.
So, like, why do you think he left?
Because it must have scared him out of his mind. And in fact, he did say there's a DVD or something somewhere where he said a lot of people that know me well know I'm not very modest. But he said I heard he said something about that Billy Gladstone had the greatest role in the whole wide world, and Buddy didn't. So it was like, yeah. Was like that.
Do you think he felt like beat?
I would think he would be mortified, because he would be sitting in there, all 5'3" of them. Show me, and he's probably sitting down in the third row or something.
Because people told him to go, right? To go check him out.
Oh yes, oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Yeah.
So, like, Buddy Rich is really, really famous. He was famous then, right?
Yeah, he was a somebody then. Absolutely, he was. Yeah.
And was Billy, or was he more like a guy that musicians knew?
Billy was a guy that musicians knew, and contractors knew, and he played all the theaters, and he played all the big shows, and when he wasn't working in Radio City.
Okay. Everyone tells Buddy to go see this guy.
Yep.
And he gets the shit scared out of him.
He just absolutely got terrified.
What did Billy think of Buddy Rich's playing?
I never heard Billy ever heard him put anybody down. And I don't know if that was because he was having a conversation with me. I just can't remember an instance of him saying somebody doesn't play well, or no, I can't recall it at all.
Did he say anyone's playing was good? Like, did he like any like?
Oh, he liked all kinds of guys playing, man. He was just, and he was very gentlemanly about it. Because I tell you, the first time that I met him in Teddy's studio, and Billy never swore. He didn't smoke. I don't think he drank either, but he didn't swear. Didn't chew tobacco. Didn't do any of that dumb thing. So I'm playing on Teddy's pad, and then go over and play on the drum. And Billy said, you got really nice technique. Why do you play so goddamn loud? And what? And I knew he never swore. I knew that, So I was like, God, do I play loud? Do I play? Oh God! And that seriously. Well, I think that was the other thing. Now I'm going to buy one of your drums, God damn it, I'm going to play it. And that's what went down. But the fact that somebody thought I played loud, it was a mystery to me, because I didn't think I played loud.
Do you think you play loud now?
Oh, I know I don't play loud now. I know I can play loud. I could turn around and go and sit in a 16, 18 piece band and do that. I could come up with enough sound for that. Same as I can come up with enough sound to play, well, what I do in a piano quartet. So.
So these guys, George, Lawrence Stone, and Billy, they're not jazz players, right?
No.
So what do they come from? Like what tradition?
Stone came from because he could read and all that stuff. He would go on the road. He was like a vaudevillian. He would go out and play all those shows. I can remember he took me to, I think it was called the Globe Theater, and he said, I want you to see this guy play because he's the most marvelous drummer, but he makes his living playing xylophone. And this guy's name was Pansy, and I think his last name was Clifford. And Pansy Clifford came out, and he was just like, just as gayer than springtime, right? Just all over the place. But could he play those mallets? It was just unreal. It was just, and that's that's that vaudeville thing. You play a thing, and then you play a style, and then it's part of your thing, and that's the end of it. Yeah, Pansy was. And Stone loved him. Stone thought he was really, really great. I think he was one of the guys that Stone really, really respected because of the way he played and how well Stone thought he played. So
he's from vaudeville. Is Billy Gladstone from the same thing?
No, I don't think Billy's from no, because Billy played when he arrived here, when he arrived in New York. He was just a little kid, because 7, 8, 9 years old.
Where's he from?
Hungary.
Oh.
And he was intrigued with upright pianos, because you push the key down and the hammer come back and hit the string. And he thought, if you could harness that, and that's what he did. That's what this thing is, And nothing ever feels more complicated than right, left. Just watch the piano, because it knows what it's doing. It's just.
Is that something he would say?
No, I did hear him say to somebody that the piano knows what it's doing, and I think that was for people who couldn't get past because you couldn't do it, So, but the piano knew how that worked, so. Just watch the hammers playing on the upright string. It was, there were stories. Billy went on the road. He didn't go out with Camelot. He went out with My Fair Lady, and this was like the national company, and it was. I think it was 14 months work. And they checked into a hotel somewhere in Chicago. And Billy went out and found a piano and had it sent up to his hotel room. And for the entire run of that thing, what Billy did was put this piano back in incredible condition. And then he refinished it, and he did I mean, it was evidently a total work of art, and then he would give it to the hotel. Say, here's your present for putting up with me for all these months. Right? So, and that one I got that from Teddy Reed, and Joe Morello had heard the same story, and so had the guy that wrote that Odd Signatures book. I played Camelot with him at O'Keefe Center. Gil Briney's.
Even in the Odds book?
What's that?
Even in the Odds? That one or no?
No, it wasn't called Even the Odds. I think it was called Odd Time Signatures or something like that. It's a book it's a white book with a red and black stuff on the front. Anyway, there you go.
So what did they think of jazz and bebop playing like Kenny Clark and Buddy Rich and guys like that?
Like I said, I never heard Billy put anybody down, and I don't think that he was he ever put himself in a situation where he would not respect what it was the guy was trying to do, whether it was. I mean, musical taste is. I mean, that's why I call it taste, right? So it's. I don't think he ever put down anybody like Max or Clute Clark or any. I don't. No, no, because he respected jazz players. I mean, he used to. Joe Jones 78s off the Basie band. He had them all. Had them right there in that studio downstairs. Put this on it. Listen to this, and then he would leave the room to go do something else, and he'd say, "Play with that," and then he'd go in there and put the thing back on and do it again, do it again, do it again.
Did you do that?
Yeah.
That's cool. So is that how you would teach jazz? I don't know.
Now?
No, like then. Like what?
I guess that's the way it does, because that's the way it happened then, because there was no jazz studies programs anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, there was certainly no jazz studies at the only the couple of universities I knew, like at Juilliard, there was no jazz studies program at Juilliard then, and Solly Goodman was on the faculty, and Solly would have made sure it never happened. I'm sure of that.
So they liked jazz. Like were you interested in jazz when you were studying with them?
Oh God, yeah.
So were you playing jazz then?
No, I wasn't playing a lot of jazz then. Mainly because there wasn't a lot of it to play. I mean, you think of before the internet and all that stuff, where everybody does a gig and then he puts it on his website. I played with Harry until 7 o'clock last Thursday, and then at 9:30 we're at the Rex for 3.5 hours, and all this stuff is notated for. There was no internet. There was, like I said, there was black and white TV. The world hadn't even got color yet. It's a lot of shit had happened. I'll tell you one thing I do remember, and it took me about 2 dates to find out why they asked it. You'd phone up some guy and say, I'm looking for work, and I played with this guy and I played with that guy, but I'm not making enough money to live on, and they would always say, can you play the rudiments? They would all say this, all these leaders that couldn't blow their nose for the most part. And all they were interested in was, at that time, you had, it was a law. I think if there was more than 50 people assembled for any reason whatsoever, even to play bingo, you would, everybody would stand up at the end of the gig and they would sing God Save the Queen. So the drum part for God Save the Queen is this: forever just one long roll, and so if you couldn't play the role, you couldn't do their gig. So you got one kick at the can, and if you had this role to go for God Save the Queen, you would have the next week, the next gig if his regular drummer was doing whatever, or that way you would go on that drummer's sub list, and that's the way it worked. And that's for about $12.25 a night, I think.
Okay, so I'm gonna just switch kind of. So the TSO, when did the Toronto Symphony Orchestra? Was that your big thing? Would you say, or no? Because you were with them a long time.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. And that started on the 31st of October, 1967. But I had been on a sort of a sub list for a couple of years before that.
With them?
Yeah.
Why did you? How did that start? Because
they needed a new percussion picker, and I don't know. I know who it was, whose job I got, and I've heard all kinds of stories about it since, and I don't know whether to believe them or not. But anyway, he was just interested in having more money, so he disappeared. And when he discovered he could make more money, he's happy as a clam in a pail out there. Because he was doing everybody's jingles and film tracks and stuff that came by. All that international stuff went in your pension pot. Was a good thing. It still is a good thing, except I don't think there is any. I don't think. No, because if a guy has a film, you don't hear about it.
Me?
Yeah, or anybody. If I was a booker and I said I got a film, and it's say 9 till 1 on Thursday, and then it's 9 to 1 on Friday and 2 till 6. And that's it. And it's just an open-end call. It would be over and done with before you knew anything about it. Because there's parts of the business that are sort of I don't know, really too pianissimo or whatever. And then those guys have a thing about, I think they refer to them as gray recordings, whereas the guys are actually playing for below scale. So, but I don't know anything about that because it's been a long time since I did somebody's film track or somebody's recording or somebody's theater gig. So
you joined the TSO in '67,
yep.
You said? And you stayed with them for 20 years, right?
25.
So what made you stay for 25 years?
Well, after you're there 15, you have tenure, and with the tenure, you get an automatic bump up in your wage, and also in your pension. Oh, there was great music to play, and great conductors to do it with, and if there's one of those things that you really look forward to it, and you just and you played the shit out of it, you knew that the next time it's coming around, you've got this much experience, which you will remember, and the next time it'll be even better. There's guys that sit up and wait, look at the repertoire list that comes out every year, say, well, we're doing Daphnis and Chloe, or we're doing Afternoon of a Faun, or things that guys are just like nuts about, right? And it's got to be worse for other people, because it's got to be terrible for fiddle players, because they play everything, and they got to have pieces up to wazoo that they love playing, and that are getting better every time they play them. So anyway.
So you were you did lots of tours with them, right?
Well, I did.
That case I had was full of stickers.
Oh God, I think that case, started life with the National Ballet. Does it have a thing on it that says air conditioner for your comfort or some such crap?
No, I don't think so.
No, but all those stickers are varnished onto it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was actually the case that I bought from Teddy Reed, and that's I put Billy's drum in that. I toted that around in that.
Oh no,
in
it's
that
the
case.
stick case. The stick case.
Oh, the stick case. Oh. Where did the stick case? Oh, no, the stick case started life on the 31st of October, 1967.
Yeah, because
I walked right across the road to Eaton's, and I wanted the black one. She said, "They don't have one." And I said, "Well, I don't want brown." And she said, "I'll give you $20 off." I said, "Okay, let's do business here." And I never heard of anybody getting a deal from either Eaton's or Simpson's. No. So anyway.
Okay, so when did you start playing jazz? Would you say, or does that question make sense?
When did I go back to playing jazz? Oh, after I discovered there was nobody making money playing jazz down there, and I had like Mike Lewis living up the street, Marty Morell lived down that way, and Bob Livingston is close by, and Keane is in Barrie, and these guys are all gigantic pickers. All you have to do is convince them that we should get together, and so I managed to do that. And I mean that the piano trio, man, I'll bet we've been at least 15 years of every Monday morning at 10 o'clock till 1 or whatever.
What do you think playing with the same guys over and over again does?
Oh, you can climb into a guy's head, and it's just, he can play like one note, and it'll, like, little tangent happens, and away you go. Sometimes the three of you go, and sometimes it's just you and the other guy within that context. Because playing with the guys is playing with the same guys is it's an amazing. I'll tell you one. When thousands and thousands of years ago, Art Blakey came to the First Floor Club in Toronto, and he would, if he felt like it, he would talk to people. But I can remember him saying there was him and Monk, and I don't know if the bass player was Abdul Malik or it might have been McKibben. Anyway, he said they would get in there and they would play for an hour, and they would look at each other when it was over, and when they were standing up, he said, "The bandstand is coming down to the floor." And that ain't bullshit. That is, yeah. You're coming down from, yeah. That's heavy crap.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask you. I thought of a question while you were talking. When you're playing with those guys, do you how do you think you should rehearse jazz? Because if you're playing with these guys over and over again, do you like play a tune? Do you think of things in terms of a set, or do you is it just a jam? Like, do you talk after tunes? Do you?
Yeah, in some tunes we turn around and say, let's mess with this a little bit, and or let's play the bridge in 3, or.
But I mean, if one of you aren't feeling something, do you make that known?
Well, normally if one of them isn't happening, one of us isn't happening. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because the thing I find is as I get older, there's not much point in playing something and thinking. There's only a point in playing something and feeling it. once thinking gets in the roads, and thinking, because really thinking is not good for your mental health. I can tell you that. Yeah. So, but I mean, I don't know if I was to open the Academy of Jazz Studies or something, how I would, honest to God, I don't know how I would get people into it. It's like
Like if you had to run a shop, you don't know what you would do?
no. I would. I think the first shop I would do, I would treat it as a master class, and let everybody know this is what works for me, and this is where we're going to start. And if you got anything to put into the thing, then please. And I mean, I can't think of a way now, but I'm not 35 years old anymore. I'm a hell of a lot worse than that. But anyway,
I'm just trying to wonder, because like at York, when people play tunes.
What do you do the first year of the first day of the first semester at the school?
What do you mean?
And you meet the guys that are going to be in your shop.
What
And some of them and some of them you've never seen before or heard before.
You just kind of, the teacher's like, well, what do you guys know? Like what happened with me was I was in a shop with no one was in my year. No one was in first year who was also in my shop.
Really?
Yeah, because they're not done like that. Basically, you audition for a shop, and then once you get into one, if you get in one year, you're allowed in the next.
Okay.
You don't have to keep re-auditioning.
Oh, I see. I got it. Yeah.
And then, but they organize it based on schedules and based on playing ability. But it's kind of weird. Like one guy was like, everyone sucks, so like we don't like it doesn't matter.
We're never going to gel.
Yeah. And then, but like Lauren was my first shop teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically how they run it. It's kind of like a master class.
Lauren Lasky, you're talking.
Yeah, and then you play, and then when you're done playing, they say things.
Yes. Yeah.
But what I think that does is it convinces students to always say something after the tune. About the tune. Do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, any kind of information that's put out there has got to be good.
Okay.
I mean, unless you get some guy who's like, when I get out of here, I'm going to scare the shit out of everybody because I'm the new Miles Davis or I'm whatever. No, that doesn't cut it. No.
Okay, so I just have a few.
Because I would. That's exactly what I would do, and particularly if I were Lauren. Can you imagine having a master class with, say, Lauren Lasky and oh God, the piano picker.
There's a few there.
What at your school?
Yeah.
No, no, the guy I'm thinking of is oh my God, isn't that terrible? Oh Jesus, that's awful. And he's one of my favorite pickers. God damn it. Oh. We had this happen. We had this happen at a rehearsal when we started talking about this cat and that one, and we got to the point where we couldn't remember the name, and we go on. We went for 20 minutes and didn't remember one guy's name. I mean, that was 4 of us in the same room.
You couldn't remember the dude's name?
No, yeah, and guys you've been working with since, Christ was a Lance Corporal. You can't remember his name. Oh my God. that happens, but
So you're still playing with those guys?
Oh yeah.
Like, did you meet yesterday?
No, because I had this yesterday, but
oh yeah.
Next Monday I'll be there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And there's a drink it there. You just
yeah.
Drank, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I just have some questions about drummers specifically. What do you think makes a jazz drummer qualities as a person and a musician? Or do you think half of that question maybe is bullshit?
No, I don't think you can separate the two.
You can't?
No, I mean you could find a guy who has all the charm of a shit sandwich, but he plays good. But you can't be a good player and have the charm of a shit sandwich. They do not go together. You know, it's like I said, treat things as a master class because it's so much easier to feel than to think. You know, it's because like thinking gets in your world. You know, that's the first thing you stumble over is yourself. You know,
So you think feeling makes a jazz player, feeling the music?
Oh, absolutely. You know, you walk into a bar and you hear the band. You know, what if the band has any feel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like your last whatever that was. You're glad. Yeah, there was a band there that didn't want to be there, and it just had to be there. You know, boy, I mean they were. I mean, I don't know why would you go to the gig? Why do you just cancel? If that's the way you are and that's the way you feel about it, then just phone up and say, "Hey, sorry guys, I'm gonna stay home and do my hair or file my nails or scratch my ass or what." But just don't show. You know?
Okay, so there's just a few more questions for this stuff. Which drummers do you think changed the role of a drummer?
Oh God. Okay, now you're going to go through some stuff with me because you're thinking of Tony Williams, right?
And Elvin.
And yeah, but okay.
But Tony, yeah, like
he was the guy who was blatantly into it, and Tony was also the kind of a guy where if he was gonna get together with Max, he'd sit there and he'd have Max's sound down in 2 seconds, and if he's going to be getting together with old Papa Joe Jones, he'd have that sound down. I mean, this is a thing that he had. It was a gift, you know.
Well, how do you think he changed the role of a drummer? Because you said Tony's like he's the first one that comes to mind for you, right?
Yeah. No, not he's the first one that comes to mind because it was huge. It was like it was invasive. It was that huge. Like what's that? The tune that all the drums played was this side triplet. Remember that tune? I can't remember what it was.
Are you in Jazz Dance, that one?
No. Oh God, isn't that awful? And Ted O'Reilly hit me to that because he was going away and he was recording a week or 2 weeks of music, and I heard this thing and I went around and he opened the door and said, "Come on in." And who's that? He says, "His name is Tony Williams." It's like amazing chops and an amazing sound. He said, "Yeah," and he's only whatever he was, 15 or 17 or 11 or whatever. You know, you're thinking, whoa, was this something? But guys who have changed the instrument and changed the music. Colin Bailey, an Australian guy, has lived in LA for 10,000 years. Wrote a bass drum book that'll scare you into bad health. He changed Jeff Hamilton, another guy who changed the whole feel and the sound touch relationship between what was happening and what had been happening. Oh God, there's all kinds of guys that have made huge inroads, and I can understand Elvin being a whatever, but as a generator, as a changing the music. But Elvin had this Elvin's gift was that he could start playing that off-the-wall, contrary to the time stuff. He could start it on any beat in any bar, and then just go off on his trip and drag you along with him. You know, that was Elvin's gift. And like I say, Colin, the kid that plays with Roy Hargrove.
Well, here, can I ask you a question? I just thought.
Sure.
Besides just keeping time, what do you think the drummer's job is?
The drummer's job is not to keep time. The drummer's job is never to keep time. The drummer's job is to invent it, create it. It comes out of your belly button, or it comes out of wherever. It comes out of you. You can't sit and keep the time. I mean, we're going to go back to 1924 and think. I don't think so, and I don't think that anybody in 1924 wanted to stay there either. I mean, it was. I mean, can you imagine being like Louis Armstrong and somebody saying, "We've got to get this thing happening." He already had it happening. He had another guy. He just dragged everybody along with him. You know, a genius in his own thing, and you know, it's like my thing is now. If I had only been able to talk to some of these guys when they were here, you know, I mean, I would give my left arm in 6 quarts of blood to have been able to talk to Monk. And oh no, I just
So I've been studying a lot of African music, and this music's like when they explain it, when my teachers explain it to me, it's always that the way you learn this music is you learn it from your father or your people, because and the only way they learned it is they learned it from them and they learned it from them.
Yes.
They don't even know how it started.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, do you think jazz will ever get to that point? Like, what do you think jazz will be like when?
Well, I think there's always going to be jazz, the same as I always think that there's always going to be music, and I don't think that like in the case of African music, I mean if some dumb dink doesn't decide to drop a nuclear device or something, we've got to keep Africa. We have got to keep Africa because it has got so many roots. I mean, that thing you think about when there's a hand drum thing from some guy in the Belgian Congo, and some of it went east, and some of it came west, and it went into Nigeria, and then it went north up the coast, up to Côte d'Ivoire, into Sierra Leone, and across North Africa, and these things became hand drums, and the hand drums became different patterns, and they went all. I mean, that's the shit that goes. It goes all the way to Bali, you know. This, so you've got to keep where the roots come, and you've got to find a way to preserve it. And I don't know. I don't think there's going to be enough enough recording devices in the world to get everything that could come out of Africa, and then because just the tracing of the historical thing of going, I mean, and it's too ludicrous to think that that there isn't a link between the first guy in the Congo and the first guy that sort of created a djembe and the first guy that created a tar. And the first guy, that those fish skin clay drums, that they're all over North Africa. And they're instruments that don't have a lot of sound, but they're instruments that have so much influence in the fact that they have evolved, not in the way they evolve, I don't think. But then I might be getting bogged down in semantics, but.
So where do you see like this drum kit? Where do you see the drum kit in 100 years? Do you think it'll be different? Do you think people will play it differently?
Oh, you bet. Yeah. Drums have to change. Like cymbals have to change. You know, it's.
What do you mean they have to?
Because people want different thing, different sound or whatever to do what because it's going to be like what world music is now, except that it's going to explode. It will never implode. It will explode, and it's going to be it's just going to be 800 million influences going down perpetually, and it's going to go to wherever it goes to. You know, I mean, I don't see any reason that that we couldn't have like a I don't know, could have a 14-inch bass drum, like that big. I mean, you've already got 16s, and those premier drums, those are 15-inch, those bass drums. There's always going to be music, and I think this world fusion thing is the evolution of it, and then you can see it becoming what it is now, but you can't see where it's going to go because there's too many intangibles. There's too many feelings, and there's and I don't know if there's too much thinking. I don't think that. No, I don't think music is like literature and painting and all that other shit. Too much thinking and not enough feeling is that's the death knell. That's it. It's over once you get to the point where you don't have the feel. If you don't play for the feel, if you can't walk into a room and hear a band playing and say, this band has got a great feel. I have no idea what they're doing, but they have this great feel. And that's been happening for a long time. But
do you think that has, so like from talking to you always, and
what would Jim Blackley say if you asked him that question?
What'll jazz be like in 1,000 years?
Yeah. Or what will the drum kit be like in 1,000 years? Or 100 years?
He always calls it he would probably say something about the final analysis, which is what you want to hear, is what you will make. So he's like, it doesn't matter if you kick the bass drum if that's what you want to hear.
Yeah.
So, and then what you were saying about the drum kit makes me think, so more influences will just create more sounds in my head that I want to reproduce. So I'll need to make things that do that.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
So but from all the time I spent with you playing things and drums, the idea of sound, but not being connected to volume. Can you talk about that? How do you develop a sound, like a full sound?
Oh, okay, yeah. That comes from another place. That's that is an intellectual creation, I think. I mean, I really do think so. That's
So do you think a full sound is different than so you don't think you feel that full sound?
Well, okay, I've just declared myself. I've gone back to the golf ball. Right? I find it's a warmer sound. It has a little bit more point. It's not huge, but it works for any situation that I'm going to be in, and I know that. I don't think that a huge, because there's a point where you can't make there's a point where you have to say to somebody, I can't give you more sound. And then you have to say, all I can do is make it louder. And if you say that in certain situations, people look at you like you've grown another hole in your ass, because that's a saw-off. You can have more sound, you can have all that warmth and all that the feel that goes with that sound. And past that, all you can do is play louder. And who needs louder? Mm-hmm. The only people that need louder are people who play on loud organizations, like the what was their name? The Grateful Dead with that.
The Wall of Sound.
Yeah. And they were into loud.
Yeah.
I mean, they were really into loud. So, and I don't know why that is. I have no idea. People are. Who the hell was it that I knew that used to stand? He used to stand by the monitor and lean on the monitor, and we get this thing. I mean, we should be bleeding from the ears, and you think, it's very, very strange.
How do you think you develop sound and not volume? This is especially to do with the drums.
No, I understand. I think that, one of the things that I think could happen, the shape of drums could be altered. I mean, we can design things. I don't know if you remember those drums that were curved. And I'm trying to think the guys. There was a place on this right beside Roy Thompson Hall. This is years and years and years and years ago, and they had these drums, and they were all only one head, only a playing head, and the bass drum went down, and then it curved outwards. Floor tom-tom did the same thing. This one up here did the same thing. The only thing that stayed was the snare drum. It stayed the way it was. These drums had huge bottom. I mean, gigantic bottom. So, and that was their intriguing thing. The problem was you couldn't get them in a car, because they were just too bulky. I mean, the dimensions weren't 16 by 16. Their dimensions were 16 by 49 and 2/3, or there was these great big things. And one of those guys is around still that owned a part of that store. That's terrible. Anyway, another brain fart. What else would you like to?
No, that's good. Is there, or like, I don't know. Do you think there's anything? I don't know. Do you think there's anything about the drums that people don't know that they should know?
One of the things is that no matter what you do, you're never going to master the drum in the sense that say fiddle players have, or you can't master that. You can't enslave that thing to your whatever. You'll never get there. It's an impossibility. So don't think that you're going to be the supreme high poobah of drummery, and there will never be a problem, because you can't possibly get there. You just cannot get there. And if drums have to look like, it's like, have you seen Santana's rhythm section? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, have you seen those cowbells that they have? They're about this long, and their profile is elliptical. And they look like they're made out of galvanized iron. I have no idea. It looks like an old piece of eaves trough. Mm. But sound is to die for, man. It's like Terry Clark's flat bell cymbal. I don't know how many of those before he found that one. But I mean, they're there, and the search will go on, because we have to have that.
Why don't you think you can master it?
Because you can't. There's intrinsic things about the drum set that are. Let me see. I don't know how to explain this. Or maybe it's just me having a brain fart, and this is a feeling that I have, but I can't see that you could. I can't see somebody like Billy Gladstone coming along and playing on something and deciding I am going to master this, you know, and have that. Nothing is more complicated than right, left, you know, because nothing should feel more complicated than that. It's not going to work. It's just you can't defeat a musical instrument. It's like George Lawrence Stone used to say, drumsticks are made out of wood. They can't think, so don't let them run you around in circles. They're only wood. Oh, they can't think. They are certainly not your equal. And
these sticks that you've been playing on, what are they?
what is this wood?
Yeah.
Snake wood. Dear me.
Sorry.
Yeah, and I don't know where I know where there is some. In Quebec City, there's a luthier that makes guitars and things, and he has a couple of bars of this stuff, like a bar. I mean, like a plank this long. That's maybe 8 inches square.
Why do you practice with those but don't play with them?
Because I love what they feel like.
Why don't you like the way they feel in the drum kit?
Actually, I'm terrified if I play my drums that they're going to chip and it's going to fly away. That's one of the things. Now, Terry Lynn Carrington has a drum stick, and this is the profile of it.
They're awesome sticks. I love those sticks.
But her stick is, and it's made by what's the girls like Colados. Her stick does not feel like this stick, and you lay them down and they are identical, but it doesn't have this.
When I
these sticks make me happy.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Ornette Coleman said, music is a verb. You know, shove that up your nose, right?
Well, I don't know what it is about those sticks, but they really feel like my hand.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's just it just keeps going.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's like those plastic drum heads that feel like calf, because they feel like they're part of your body. They're yeah. And is that a final culmination of I have no idea, but I feel happy when I have these in my hand. You know, and I will not ever deny that.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That's all. You're free.
I've been freed up.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we can start drinking beer.